And now, it is my honor and privilege to bring onto the line Nando Rodriguez. He is a breakthrough coach in New York City, transforming celebrities, influencers, and creatives' lives through individual and group coaching sessions, causing breakthroughs and smashing limiting beliefs. He's trained to leave people with a new access of performance using a new technology based on neuroscience, which is neurolinguistic programming, and ontology. This method is designed to empower people's natural ability of self-discovery to consistently produce breakthrough results. All of this, he says, is just fancy talk for he helps his clients transform their mindset, actions, and lives. You can find more about him at nandoism.com and connect with him on Instagram at Nandoism. And you definitely want to connect with him on Instagram because we were just having a conversation before we started the show that his hair is fantastic. And maybe it's just me because I'm bald and I don't have that glorious mane, but it's something that I noticed right away. It's kind of his trademark, and he pulls it off spectacularly. So go follow him on Instagram so you can see it in all his glory. Nando, welcome to 10 Minute Mindset.
Thank you, man. It's great to be here. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's great to have you here. How's everything in New York City?
Everything is great. The snow is melting, so there's like this there's a refresher in the air. So all the newness is coming out now. Yeah.
It's nice. It's about that time of year when new things happen and new things pop up. And speaking of new things, how's coaching? How's your practice doing? You're the breakthrough coach.
I'm the breakthrough coach. And so my coaching practice right now is really thriving. It's still young, it's still new in its infancy. And so I'm really grateful to have the practice that I currently have. And along with one-on-one coaching, I do group coaching. And within a few weeks, I will be adding online courses to the whole menu of services as well. So it's a busy time for me right now. Yeah.
That's awesome. And so this is so exciting to just be in all these different places. But let's go back to what got you into coaching to begin with.
Wah, wah. All right. So you want the full scoop, right? So actually what occurred to me was something that occurs to a lot of individuals, which is I was let go. I was let go from my job. And what happens to a person who is so attached to their job, they're attached to the title, they're attached to the salary, they're attached to what that job represents. Once that job was let go or was no longer in existence, I didn't know who I was. And so I immediately went into a depression. I started to really question my abilities as, I was working in marketing and advertising and social media, and specifically in the HR industry. So I really went down this path of like, woe is me, I must have really not been good. And I started to hide out, on LinkedIn. I had even changed my profile that I was no longer working at the company. I think it took like 6 to 8 months before I even did that. And I got trapped inside this whole world of who am I? Where do I want to go? And at my age, this is 2 years ago, I was 42. So like who goes through this at 42? And it was really a down period for me. And what I decided to do was start going on this transformational journey, right? And it was just like, let me figure some things out. And I didn't know what the end result was going to be. And I started learning these new ideas, these new concepts, new ways of being, right? And how I told you in the beginning, I slipped into depression. I was hiding out. It was about 6 to 7 months in, when I was at a Target and I was shopping, and I'm with my shopping cart in the middle of the vitamin aisle, and I'm looking around because I'm looking for B12. And as I'm reaching out for the B12, I look at the top shelf, and there's a lot of vitamins like, you use this to relax, or take this one to calm down, or take this one to be able to go to sleep, or fight the depression, fight the this. And I'm standing there and I'm thinking, holy crap, it's been over 6 months since I actually felt like depressed, hopeless. And I hadn't been taking any vitamins that, for that, right? My sleeping was well. And I was like, what happened? Like, what is going on? And so I discovered, looking back, and first of all, like I let out like this huge cry, like this huge scream in the middle of Target. And people were looking at me like, oh my God, like they were running away from me. This is New York. You don't scream in New York at a Target and expect people to just like clap at you, right? And so what I discovered later on was my journey from being depressed and being hopeless from losing my job to 8 months later. What were those things that happened in between then and where I was, right? What was inside that gap? And so what I discovered was there was actually 12 disruptors. There was 12 distinctions that I learned along my way that really got me from depression to breakthrough.
And let me
And
ask you this: when you went through that, when you made that distinction and you found those 12 things, were you at that point working with anyone, working with a coach or anyone else, or did you just do this solely on your own?
no, not at all. So I was working with coaches. I was working, inside of anything that had to do with transformational learning, right? Because the difference between when you read a book, or when you do in any type of self development, self improvement, what happens is a lot of it is based on uh, uh, formative learning, which is basically like you learn something, you get quizzed on it, you get tested on it, and you kind of forget it and you move on to the next thing. Transformative learning is really about you learn something and you apply it right then and there, right? So what that looks like is my coach might have gone through a session with me about, integrity, right? Without integrity, nothing works. And so we spent weeks and weeks and weeks looking in and digging in. Where was I out of integrity in my life? And that's a lot of work. That's hard work because a lot of us don't want to take a dive in there. So it's like you're constantly looking, you're constantly diving. Where am I out of whack? Where am I out of integrity? And once you get to the next lesson, you don't forget about integrity. You just attach that to the next lesson now. So now you're dealing with integrity, and now you're dealing with another thing, right? And so then you're digging in your life, dig, 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 dig. By the time you get to the third lesson, integrity, the second lesson, and the third. And so basically what you're doing is you're creating a practice. And so that's what occurred. So when I got to 6 months, 6 to 8 months, I was like, wait, what really were the things that helped transform me from depressed to having a breakthrough in the middle of Target? And my own coach, when I came to him, and I was like, came to her and was like, yo, this is like going on, this is happening. She said to me, Nando, you've really grasped these concepts. You've really grasped like these disruptors in such a way that a lot of my clients, they still kind of struggle with them. Have you thought of becoming a coach? And that's when it blew the doors open for me right then and there. Because the first thing that popped up for me, and I'll be very honest with you, was resistance. Like, no, absolutely not. I don't want to deal with people at all.
Well, that's, what I found from I've talked to a lot of coaches, and one of the things, and you can let me know if this was what you experienced or not, but one of the things I noticed was some of the best coaches in the world didn't pick coaching. Coaching picked them. Do you feel that way?
Well, here's the thing. When I left college, I was a certified chemical dependency counselor. So I was helping people in that realm of drug addiction and dual diagnosis, like if they had mental health issues. I was helping them create treatment plans and getting them back into sobriety, right? So I had already had an experience of what it was like working with people and getting them to, see their lives in a different manner. That experience was based on, Gestalt therapy, a touch of, emotional, behavioral, cognitive. It was based on all these psychotherapies, right? So me coming into coaching now it wasn't that new. But what was new was what I was basing my helping in, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Getting those
breakthroughs.
Because
that's really the area that like really makes the difference.
What do you think you're super passionate or the most passionate about now? Now that you've been in coaching for a little while, it's still in its infancy, but what's one thing that stands out to you that really excites you to help people do?
One of the things is working with entrepreneurs that are stuck, right? Whether it's, they're a photographer and they've been doing photography for 3 years and their business just hasn't advanced. Whether it's whatever it is on the entrepreneur route, it's really about discovering what's their way of being, right? So you're a photographer, I get that. But what's your way of being as a photographer. And that's when the work really starts, right? Because that's what gets you to start digging in. How I had said earlier, for me, it was, where was I lacking integrity? Where was I, where was this missing? Where was that missing? All those lead to a path of how I was being. When I'm not in integrity, I show up late for podcasts. When I'm not, in integrity, I completely blow off phone calls, right? And so what we don't realize is we actually live life like this. Like, we don't return people's phone calls. We don't do what we say we're going to do. And as an entrepreneur, you can't get away with that because you won't get repeat business. And so people don't actually realize that it's the access to your business. So the business is not the business, it's how you're being about the business that's your business. Like, how matrix is that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's not the doing, it's the being. Because
It's the
if you be, then you will do. That sounds kind of Star Wars-ish right there, but
It
Yoda-ish.
does.
But it's so true, and I love that.
And to add the third flavor to it, it's about how you're being. It's about who you're being that's going to influence your doing, and then you're going to get the having, right?
My
The
head might
having.
explode.
Yeah. So the having, right? Because a lot of people think,
Yeah, that's
I'm an entrepreneur. As soon as I get 10 clients, or as soon as I hit, the 50K monthly market, then I'll be happy, right? So that's the having. But first you gotta deal with like how you're being about it, so then you can take action, and then the result, which is the having. You'll have that 50K monthly income, or 100K, whatever it is. So it's be, do, have. That's actually one of the distinctions that I give my clients. It's one of the 12.
That's
What?
great. And that goes back to identity too, I think, which is how you see yourself, how you envision yourself, who you believe you are. That's how you'll show up and be, which will then influence what you do, and then that creates what you have. So
Yeah, and we're
it all starts in your mind with who you
yeah, and we're
believe you
so
are.
stuck, in who we think we are, who we've been told we are, who we believe we think we should be. All of that is wrapped up in what I call an identity. And so when I start working with clients, it's like, we're going to start peeling this identity. This thing that you say you are, you call yourself Mario, you're not Mario. You're a compilation of ideas of what you think people want Mario to be. Let's start digging in there and really create who Mario is. Yeah.
Nando, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I can't wait to have you back tomorrow because Nando's promised to come back for round 2 tomorrow. And if round 2 is anything like round 1, I absolutely can't wait because we're going to learn so much. So thank you so much for bringing your passion. I want to remind people to visit you at nandoism.com, follow you on Instagram at nandoism, and to find you on YouTube as well because you put out some great content there. So Nando, thank you so much, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks for having me. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.
And I want to remind everyone to visit us, 10minutemindset.com, join the Facebook group, subscribe to the podcast, and we'll talk to you tomorrow on a brand new 10-Minute Mindset.